Welcome to the Jedi Ranger. I'm JohnBerry555, and today I'm going to continue my reviews of Star Wars Visions Volume 3 with the second episode short. I guess we could use either term. The story is called The Song of Four Wings. So, of the two so far, this one could actually almost slot into the existing Star Wars canon in terms of the storyline. There's some more fantastical elements. Yes, fantastical elements in the Star Wars story. I am shocked. But what I'm getting at, there are some elements in this story that just wouldn't work in the grounded realism of Star Wars. There's no good way of describing it besides just to get into it. That being is, there's a magical girl anime transformation sequence, and there's also AT-ATs coming out of the snow and ice, like literally from the ground up. Cool scene, great animation, is just so cool, but wouldn't really work in Star Wars. But it also does work at the same time. What I'm saying is, we could put this in canon and have no problem with the actual story, just some of the visuals may not quite line up with the visual continuity of Star Wars as we know it. But that does not take away from this story. This story follows a character known as Princess Crane. I want to say Crane, but it's not. It's spelled very similarly, which is actually kind of fitting because later on in this episode, when she investigates, no, not later on, probably around the midpoint of the episode, when she investigates a village that the Empire had destroyed, she sees a paper crane. And I think that's why they chose that name, but they had to give it more of a Star Wars name, sounding name. So Crane, I think, is how it's actually pronounced in the story. But anyhow, she finds out, and she also finds one survivor of the village. The character's name is Wupas, if I'm pronouncing that correctly again. Even though I heard it, I still gonna make pronunciation mistakes. But anyhow, he's actually the same species as one of Saw Gerrera's partisans, who basically is, looks like almost like a, more of a Wookiee version of a Wampa, for lack of a better term. But right now, just a cute little baby. But anyhow, regards that, eventually Stormtroopers do find them, Snowtroopers specifically, and they work together to defeat them and escape. I should also mention during this, Crane is accompanied by her droid, R9TR2, who Crane calls Tortu, who is basically apparently an old astromech, who has been with her as long as she can remember, because she used to be the princess of a kingdom that the Empire wipes out, and eventually she joins the rebellion. Very much Princess Leia vibes, including with some of her costume, her hair design. A little bit her costume very much reminiscent of Leia's outfit on Hoth, just a little bit rearranged, plus some scavenged stormtrooper armor for goggles, which kind of reminds me of Rey a little bit going on too. So they definitely took some inspiration from Star Wars heroines for her design. And another thing too, there's some diegetic music that I'm going to guess probably is a remnant of Crane's old home. And I think also is the song from what the episode gets named, not just the paper cranes that we see. But in regard to that, part of the reason why she keeps Tortu around despite his age is because Tortu can play her music. Which, honestly, I do get it. You don't see it, but up behind my camera on top of my desk, I have my OCD cassette player up there, so that way if I ever want to play my cassettes, which are way over there, I can do so. And down here, which again you can see, but I have my VCR player, because I ever want to play my VCR, plus I have a DVD player, I got a couple of them actually. Because, you still want to, play some of your old stuff. I do not have a record player, though. Side tangent aside, going back to fighting the Empire, so Crane discovers that the Empire came to this planet not because there's a rebel base there, but because they're mining coaxium, which I just love that they're kind of plays homage to stuff as established in the actual Star Wars lore, which is part of the reason why I do think it can very much story-wise slot into the actual canon, even if it's not being part of Star Wars Visions and non-canonical, or at least an alternate timeline. Again, there's occasionally a story in Visions that does, and that's because that is what the creators, the directors that Lucasfilm worked with decided to do for their story. After all, Visions are made by several Japanese companies, and the Song of Four Wings is specifically made by Project Studio Q. And clearly, I think their team decided, well, to tell a Star Wars story that with the story itself would work in the established continuity, but do so with more of an anime style. Because when Kwane actually takes her goggles off at one point, she has anime eyes. And I mentioned earlier there's a magical anime girl transformation. I am not joking. So there's a scene. They do successfully take down one of the AT-ATs, which Kwane calls an AT-AT. Ugh. I do not like calling it them AT-ATs. They're AT-ATs. I guess we could translate into Orbish if we really want to. We should probably do that if we really want to be Star Wars fans. That might be another video. Short. Who knows? Anyhow, they take down one of them with a well-placed thermal detonator, which again, just great. But then, the next AT-AT unleashes a bunch of thermal imploders using the sonic boom from the Slave One's sonic detonator, whatever it was called, I forget, and destroys Krane's land speeder bike, which has a unique paint design, by the way, matching the paint scheme on Tortu. But anyhow, apparently her and Tortu have basically a way to basically transform Tortu from a regular astromech into a mini X-Wing Expire mech suit somewhat type thing, flying jetpack for Krane to wear in combat. And its framing is like a magical girl transformation. I can't believe they did it, but it was cool. And yes, it looks like a miniature X-Wing. We do see an actual X-Wing later on. And they take down the other AT-AT. And there's also this scene too where Wupas uses the Force to connect the one plug that didn't connect during the magical girl transformation. And that allows Kwane and Tortu to make the successful shot to destroy the Empire's mining rig. And speaking of shots, there's also a scene where Kwane fires off the blaster from her speeder bike, and they frame it to look like it's gonna be all super powerful, and barely leaves a scorch mark on the AT-AT. That I loved, really showing the power of the armor and the subversion of making the blaster bolt seem like it's gonna be super powerful and then not. I just love that from that build up and that subversion, which I think works really well to show how strongly armored the AT-ATs are. Not too long ago, I made my 10th anniversary reviews for Star Wars Rebels for the Lost Commander and Relics of the Old Republic. In Relics of the Old Republic, there's a scene where a AT-AT takes a full-on shot from the main cannon of an AT-TE, which in the Clone Wars we had seen rip through tanks before. And this scene actually makes that blaster ball seem more powerful than the main shot of an AT-TE. But the point of both of those is to show how strongly armored the AT-AT actually is. Rebels did that through relying on you knowing what and how devastating AT-TE main cannon blast can be, while in the Song of Four Wings it relies on building up a small little laser bolt greater than it actually is, and then subverting it. Both are great ways of doing it, and fit the style of storytelling that each is going for. And then at the end, Kwane is talking with Admiral Bezo Kuse. I think I'm pronouncing the name right. I'm just reading it off of Wikipedia. But anyhow, basically, the story's version of Admiral Akbar or Admiral Radis in many ways. More like Akbar from what little we see of him. Kwane has talked with him before, of course, on this. By the very end, talking about, oh yeah, just made a lucky shot. Then we see Wupas using the Force to elevate one of the little paper cranes, and that explains it all. And there's also an actual X-Wing in the background of that shot. Again, this is a very enjoyable short. I really love the story. Kwane connects with Wupas for several ways. One, showing her eyes, so not a faceless monster like the snowtroopers, not stormtroopers, though they are the same thing. But also, too, she is able to connect because, like Wupas, her entire village, well, for her it was probably her kingdom, but basically her home, both of their homes were destroyed by the Empire, and there's that bonding that can occur. Again, I kind of hope, like a few of the other shorts in this season, Star Wars Visions that are sequels to stories from either the first or second volumes, that in a fourth or fifth or whatever volume we get a sequel to this story, because I think it would be kind of cool to see a couple of years on Krane being a mentor for Wupas in some form. I just love the stories of found family, which is very common in Star Wars. And while we've gotten that, no, we've gotten the Rebels version, definitely, which has definitely got the exasperated parents dealing with the crazy uncle and the two teens, and then the murderous dog. Then you have Resistance, which is not quite the same, but a different kind of found family, but still has that to a certain extent. And then the Mandalorian, where you got a single dad who adopts his son. We could do something similar like in this. We could. Well, maybe not me, but Project Studio Q, if they ever wanted to, and Lucasfilm was agreeable, they could, because I think it would be interesting to see the story continued. Because I just I find the characters so impactful in some ways. Like, there's so much more that can be expanded on about them. Like I said, the action part of the story, so cool, so many great moments. But for me, I really like more the character side of this show, and I would like to see that continue on in some form. But those are just my thoughts. I would love to hear your thoughts. And join me tomorrow when I talk about the third episode of Star Wars Visions Volume 3, that being The Ninth Jedi, Child of Hope. That's right, The Ninth Jedi, another standout from Volume 1, is getting a sequel, but that is going to be a review for tomorrow. Thank you for watching my video. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please be sure to give this video a like and share. Also, consider subscribing to my channel to stay up to date on all my latest content. In the meantime, thank you for watching, and as always, have a good day, a good night, wherever you are. May the Force be with you, always.